All right, well, this week we are pleased to welcome June Klein from Palo Alto University, Vice President of Business Affairs and also CFO, to talk about the upcoming panel next week on immigration, immigration rights, and discussion to really alleviate fears or to inform the public on what they can do to assist immigrants and immigrants themselves on what their rights are in this area. June, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want to ask you to just give us a brief kind of overview of this event next Thursday, Immigrants and Allies. Where did it come from? Who's involved? And what's the purpose of this event?
Well, okay. I will start with where did it come from. It's basically a group of individuals who have been trying to make Palo Alto a better place for the students. And it was really around the last suicide cluster. And so it was a group, we named ourselves the Asian Outreach Collaborative. And it was really, in the end, run by Dr. Stephen Adelsheim and Vicki Harrison from Stanford. And we were kind of feeling good about some of the work we had done and asking ourselves, are we done? And so this was about 5 days after the election, so I just brought up, well, I'm not sure we're done, but last week was really a weird week. And then everyone said yes, and I told them, and I told Sue as well, that it's really odd when you go to work and people are crying. And the most upset folks were the faculty. So I mentioned that to the group, and then a couple of our participants on the committee work for the school district, and they said, oh my goodness, the Latino students are so stressed out. And so then I looked at Stephen and I said, what do you think? I mean, that sounds bad. And he says, so then we start talking about, we need to, we need to do find pro bono lawyers, I mean, what can we do? And then all of a sudden, and we're about 15 minutes from ending our committee meeting, and we all said, we need to get an event together to help.
This really
people.
strikes me as like one of the kind of events that's the classic teach-in back from the days of the civil rights era and even before. They really try to inform, equip people in the community.
So, this was about 15 minutes before we ended, and I said, I think we need to change our committee name. And so right there, we changed our committee name from the Asian Outreach to Multicultural Outreach Committee. So that was how this started.
Flowing with the times.
Yes, and as with most things that I work on, sort of like Project Safety Net, it's just whoever shows up. So the next morning, I mean, this is less than 24 hours, a few hours later, Linda says, okay, we're meeting at 7:30 a.m. at Phil's. Who's available? So, of course, there's only 4 of us who are available. And we, within half an hour, we had the whole event planned out.
That's
over coffee.
Now, I know the discussion in the school district has been around sanctuary campuses, and there's a lot of talk about what does that mean right now. Are kids feeling safe? I was wondering if Elena could give us a little kind of overview of what's been the discussion with the school district, and even this week there was some discussion about using that term sanctuary to convey safety, but then there's also some questions about what does it legally mean.
Yeah, and this has been a debate at a lot of school districts and college campuses across the country with sort of different results. Some schools deciding to declare themselves sanctuary campuses and others deciding not to because it is sort of an amorphous term and no one's quite sure what the actual legal implications are. So
everyone understands an intention.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think most would agree with that intention, but what does it actually mean if you're promising that to a student or a student's family? So this week, the school board actually adopted a resolution in support of immigrant students and families, and they had this conversation over, there was the word schools will be sanctuaries for students and families in this resolution, and they were sort of divided over, that might be over-promising and maybe a little misleading if we're not really clear about what it means, both to students and families and even for staff members who maybe might, if a law enforcement official came on campus or called a school asking for information if a staff member wasn't sure how to respond or what they were allowed to do or not allowed to do. And then two other members, Melissa Baden Caswell and Jennifer DiBrianzo, really wanted that word sanctuary in there as sort of a signal to this is a statement that we're making for our students in this time. And so they ultimately adopted it with that language, but made it very clear sort of what they're going to do, which is basically, you know, they won't give out students information and they kind of won't cooperate with law enforcement unless required by law.
I think one of the questions really is, you know, where's the teeth behind what people are saying? I think someone down at a nonprofit in San Jose is also having a teach-in and said, you know, hope is not an action. I mean, you can hope, but what are you actually doing? And I think that it sounds like organizations are trying to get to the action, again, the equipping of people so that they can take action. And I'm wondering, what are organizations like Palo Alto University seeing right now amongst your clientele, amongst your students and faculty, and what kind of action are you encouraging people to take?
Well, honestly, so we came up with this event, right, which is a 2-hour event where we have panelists. And of course, we wanted to make sure we had panelists that covered the varying kinds of concerns and information that people want. So I went to my president to make sure that she was okay with this, because I was volunteering resources from Palo Alto University. And, you know, action research is a big piece of cultural studies and also change. Implementing change. And so we've been very supportive for all the 15 years I've been there. And I think probably knowing my former boss, President Alan Calvin, helping people implement change has been probably his whole life's work. So I was not afraid that someone would tell me, no, don't do that. So, you know, we volunteered our IT, we volunteered our myself and you know, people who work for me, as well as Dr. Elizabeth Revilla. And I think what we found is everyone, so the 4 people who have really been working on this is Linda Lenoir, who just recently retired from the school district, and myself, Leif Erickson of Youth Community Services, and of course the Human Relations Commission, so that's Daryl Savage and Greer Stone. And then we just, I mean, basically got on the phone and email and found a network of people who said, oh, this person's a perfect speaker, this person's a perfect speaker. And I think all of our organizations, through individuals who have decided to take action, but then ask for permission. So we basically put the flyer together before it was approved by most of them. So we had I reached out to the Kiwanis Club and asked someone who does marketing for a living, will you make the flyer for us? And then we found another Kiwanian to do the translation, and we had created the list of supporters before they had even voted to support us. We were just waiting. And that was because the holidays were coming and we knew we would lose everyone.
Were there certain issues that rose to the top really quickly from each of your organizations as we need to really address these at this event?
And one of the things was we had such a long list of issues that, and you know, the holistic view, that when we reached out to the moderator, they're like, can you narrow it down to 3 or 4? So that was, I mean, it's always harder to say, you know, something in 2 minutes than 2 hours, and that's our problem.
So
Do you
what
see
were the
this
3
as
or
a
4?
stepping stone? Oh, I'm sorry.
What were the
Would you
3
go
or 4
first?
issues that?
Okay, so we're still struggling with that, but you know, we have 5 panelists. So we've mentioned the psychologist. We also have a immigration lawyer, Diana Morales from Siren, and we have Andres Cornell from Nuestra Casa, and both of those organizations have been working for decades on helping particularly the Spanish-speaking community with immigration issues. And last but not least, we have Warren Slocum from the County Supervisor's Office at San Mateo County. So we wanted to bring people together, one, to have information available, but then we added Becky Cohn Vargas from Not in Our Town because we felt like it's important to have allies know how they can help. That's the old saying that, bad things happen when good people sit around and do nothing. So how do you get involved? So that's why she's on the panel.
Do you see this as a stepping stone? As this sort of like one, not like just one event in and of itself, but the beginning of something in terms of action?
So I'm more of a pragmatist, and I'm not a lawyer. So my view is we're having this event the day before the inauguration. No one knows the future. I'm also a CFO, so if you ask me what's going to happen next year with the
Right.
economy, or can you predict something 5 years from now? People don't do 5-year plans anymore. They used to. I know I know they don't know, right? So if someone says, "Oh, this is what's going to happen," once the administration changes, they don't know. So I feel it's like you want to teach someone to fish.
True. Yeah.
So our job is to get what we know out there, and a lot of the cities are trying to make, and organizations like school districts are trying to make what they know more concrete. So we have a statement from the police department of EPA and Palo Alto around, their policy for turning over folks, which is not to. They have a policy, and so we have the written statement from Dennis Burns and on what their policy is, and that should help people feel better. But we also know things are going to change, and we also don't have control. We're just California. We're just Palo Alto. So then how do people find out what's going on today? Or maybe will take place in the future. So we're giving resource lists. We're having them feel comfortable with at least the people on the panel who come from organizations that have long histories of helping people. And then they have contacts who can then help.
Palo Alto University runs a Latina clinic, a psychology clinic. Can you tell us a little bit about what they've been seeing there amongst the need, the referrals?
Yeah,
in the past year or
I
so?
mean, a lot of us have kids, right? And even adults. When you don't understand something and you see things on the television and the media and people say things to you that you don't understand what's changed, why they worry, And so there's this generalized sense of fear that has changed and a fearfulness that has come about, and that creates anxiety. So this is something we're going to have to live with.
You mentioned that clinic before we were talking that has seen a spike in referral or just an increase
Yeah,
in referrals.
yeah. So, and we're hoping that continues, right? Because if you look at stigma around mental health in cultures, Asians, Hispanics, it's not a culture of acknowledging a mental health issue or, oh, why don't we go see a doctor? That's not, normally they'll go see an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or a church, but it's not their normal route to immediately go to a clinic.
And some of the distress that people are feeling it really is great distress and trauma. Are you seeing that requires those types of interventions with
I think
someone?
people deal with microaggressions and even macroaggressions differently, right? And if you're already a fearful kid, this is not going to help. It's just like bullying, right? Some kids deal with bullying differently than others, and so just in my little circle, I've heard stories since the election that would not have happened among CFOs and audit partners who are people I hang out with.
Right.
And
Yeah. There's a lot to address, isn't there? So this event next Thursday is at Cubberley Community Center, 4000 Middlefield Road.
in the theater,
In the theater.
yes,
That can hold several hundred people.
yeah, I think
Right.
capacity is over 300.
Yeah, so it's free. Everyone
It's
can come.
free. We are hoping, we're hoping the audience is largely Spanish speaking. So our plan at the moment, the moderator is Manny Santamaria, who's the vice president for strategic initiatives and grant making at Silicon Valley Community Foundation. We're very happy to have him. And all the panelists except one will be speaking in Spanish, and as well as the moderator. And so we will have headsets for people like myself who aren't fluent in Spanish, so that we can listen to what's
There'll be
going
a
on.
simultaneous translation going on.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
the students in our doctoral program have volunteered to be translators, so they will get lots of practice.
Well, it sounds good. June, is there anything else that you wanted to mention about this event before we sign off here?
That we hope people feel safe enough to come. You know, we're going to be videotaping the stage, so if you can't come, you know, we will be, Palo Alto University IT group will be videotaping it, and we will post it on the web, and we'll let you know what it is too. So
It'll be on the Palo Alto University web, or just to be determined?
we were planning on putting on ours just because of ease of use, you know, and then making sure everyone has the link to the video. So if you can't make it, then it will be there. But we want to make sure the audience knows that, you know, we're not videotaping the audience, and we're going to be asking. 1 hour of it will be questions from the audience, so we'll be passing out cards and hope people will ask lots of questions of our panelists. But we also will have other speakers. So Joseph Midian's office is sending a representative, and as well as, you know, some of the police and other agencies will be there. We just can't have 10 people on the panel.
Yeah, that sounds like they'll be available for
And we
answering
will have a
questions.
resource table, as well as hot links for online resources. And we're also providing babysitting. So the YMCA of Palo Alto is, and the YCS kids are providing activities for the children, so the parents can come,
Okay.
and pizza.
The draw is always food. Well, thank you so much for informing us about this and giving us a heads up for our readers, so that they can attend next Thursday, 7 to 9, Coverly Community Center in the theater, and it's free.
January 19th.
January 19th. That's it for this edition of Behind the Headlines. If you liked what you heard and want to hear more, you can click the subscribe button at the bottom, or follow us on Twitter at Palo Alto Weekly. And as always, you can go to paloaltoonline.com for all the latest news in Palo Alto. That's a wrap.